So the whole thing, I suppose, about getting started with self-publishing is you really want to think about the key thing is that you're then both writer and publisher. And that's the shift, I think, that people then sometimes struggle to make, because when you're writing your book, you're immersed in your story, right? You're the one who knows absolutely everything that you're telling your story. And, you know, so it's almost, I describe this as people kind of being heads down, typing away, furiously involved there. Your stories become very real to you. Your characters become very real to you. And the first stage of then sharing that story out there with somebody else is when you come to an edit. Because then your first view of editing your whatever you've written is then taking a little bit of a step back and reading your own work. It's also something that's really helpful to do if you can have, you know, someone else edit. And depending on what your aspirations are for publishing and books, if you want to sell books, if you want to actually, you know, get people to read it, then really you want to work with somebody who is who's going to edit your book that's not, you know, not just your friend. Unless they've got good editing skills, you want somebody else to be able to can work on that, read your stories, and take an external view, because it's often so difficult to kind of edit your own work, because you just look at it and you see what you thought you were writing, whereas an editor sitting in the background is going to kind of look, come at that completely fresh. So editing is one of the crucial points. If we kind of do a little fast track and we assume that you've now got your book edited and you're kind of ready to go, this is the point at which you start to look or think like a publisher. And it's understanding your genre and understanding who your target audience are. And there's things that you can do to research that before you even begin to think about cover design and stuff. You can actually go and have a look at where would your book sit on the bookshelf. And, you know, so you can do that really easily now by looking on Amazon or any of your online bookstores and narrow down where your genre sits. You know, where would your books that you're writing, what genre would it sit in? So, Colin, if you're writing kind of sci-fi, you know, mix of humour, sci-fi, then you're going to look at those, you know, books that would sit on that shelf. Who are the best authors that you would love to be beside on the bookshelf? Because that's the thing to kind of look at. Look at what are they producing? How does their book look? What's actually even current in the marketplace? Because this is something that I do with any of the writers that we're working with. We have you've got a sense of really trying to understand the book that's been written and how that's going to be portrayed, but you're also looking to try and capture the audience. And book covers, if you actually, even if you walked into a bookshop, you would probably see that there are certain similarities that appear. If you've got, now I'll pull this from behind me. Right? So here's one. This is Hannah Powell's book. Now Hannah's written the Cactus Surgeon. It's like using nature to fix a faulty brain. She just won the best memoir at the Selfies awards at London Book Fair, and which we're absolutely delighted about. And what they said particularly was that the cover and the book just was absolutely perfect for her marketplace. You know, a memoir all about sort of her personal story through healing her own kind of mental and physical well-being. So, you know, it's something that's then going to stick really, really clearly in a book cover. I'll just pull something. So you've got, you know, I said one, I think there's, you know, crime, you know, there's a crime series, you've got the kind of hint that's kind of, you've got something that's dark, it's a bit curious, there's something going on. And with Sinclair's books, this sort of banner, when he's got a series of books, this is one of the things that we use to kind of style and pop out. So your cover's obviously got to fit your genre. And one of the best ways to have a look at that is if there's been a bestseller in your particular genre that you're writing, all of a sudden you will see that publishers sometimes will actually even reissue books and change covers, or they will there will be a particular style that then even the kind of mainstream big publishers will then piggyback on. I mean, it's quite late. It's almost kind of lazy marketing, but it's that notion that when people are familiar with something, they will look, if they can easily see at a glance, oh, that looks like something like that. If I like that, I'm going to like that. So that's what some of the stuff that you're thinking about at this time when you're designing a book cover. It's what's current. So looking at what are the best sellers. Where does your genre fit? Who are the best-selling authors that would be writing a similar style of book to you? And then thinking around sort of the placement of the image, the text, and playing around with that till you get something that actually that suits. And you can have that's the thing, you can have multiple different versions of stuff, and often we will we'll have a few different goes at designing a cover until we get something that we think would work. And I mean, Liz is on the call just now. We're working with Liz on her Feather in Many Colours, and there was a few designs kind of trying to kind of get to create your book cover until something that we think, yep, that looks like that would be the one. So it's never a first go. The other things I would suggest that are really important are the typefaces, and this, I think, this is one of the things to elevate your cover. Because we have been involved in publishing and self-publishing for such a long time, it's quite easy still to spot something that someone has done on their own if they haven't really understood the design of a cover. And the typeface is often the thing that actually gives it away, because people will choose very simple fonts, or they'll go for something like Comic Sans or something like that, because it's like, oh, they've used that before. So the kind of placement of the text, the style of the text is really key as well. You want to be able to see it. And if you think of a book cover, most people now are buying things online, so they're looking at book covers in thumbnail size. So what you want to make sure is that you're going to actually stand out as a really, really small icon. So you can play around with things for yourself.